everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the James E. Wamesy Show. I'm James E. Wamesy, and today I decided to really focus on things that are not comic related, like things that interest me that maybe you guys don't know about, or you know about them but you don't know I'm into them as well. Well, for one thing, I like Doctor Who. My favorite Doctor is David Tennant. I'm not one of the old school snobs, you know. I couldn't take or leave Tom Baker. I haven't watched enough of his episodes to really form an opinion. I did watch them when I was a kid, but I remember the show being really cheap and really hokey, and I totally didn't understand it. But I was probably about 5 or 6 years old. Um, but yeah, I'm big into David Tennant. I don't really hold a grudge against Russell Davies for being a hack or anything. I actually enjoyed some of the new episodes. Some of them were not so hot, but that goes for every writer, really. So yeah, there's that. Another person I'm into is Alejandro Jodorowsky. Some of you have probably seen the documentary about the making of Dune and how it all fell apart. And there's a giant book out there. I think it's on the archives, on archive.org, and you can look at it for yourself. But it's got like Dan O'Bannon, H.R. Giger, Mobius did the storyboards. It's just beautiful stuff. Once again, I actually prefer his more modern movies to like El Topo, which is a fine movie, but I personally prefer like Endless Poetry. I think that's a brilliant movie. I like that they used a picture of a train instead of an actual train. That's a really smart way to just skip around the budget and show you something cool and something you haven't seen before. I really think that Jodorowsky is a great director and a visionary mind, and I think even Kanye West like worships him, which is the things he worships aren't so hot anymore. But I think Jodorowsky is pretty awesome. All right, next I have Lenny Bruce. I remember like when I was like 20, I was way into Lenny Bruce. I loved watching his stand-up comedy, and I watched the movie Lenny. I think that was directed by Bob Fosse, I think, but it was a really good movie, performance by Dustin Hoffman. I was actually going to try and write a comic book about the life of Lenny Bruce, but as I grew older, I decided that wasn't for me anymore. There's too much research, too much work. It's really not my thing. All right. Then we have Patrick Nagel. Well, let's look at this book on the inside here. Now, when you look at these are very 80s. These have not dated well, but I think fashion is designed to not age well. Let me find a certain page here. Okay, this is a very 80s piece here. That's You're not gonna find much yellow like that anywhere. Oh, sorry for the way I hold my books. You all know my history. All right, here's a sequential. Now, one of the things I like about Nagel is the fact that he's very 80s and I guess early 90s. Kind of like, let me show you my shirt. There you go. Todd McFarlane. Like, I consider Todd McFarlane a great artist for his period. Like, I think of the fashion of the 80s and 90s as being equivalent to the image revolution. Like it really doesn't stand the test of time. It has a certain look that hasn't moved forward because it kind of sucks at this point. But it looked really, really cool back in the day. I still love looking at old Jim Lee work, old McFarlane work, but the new stuff is really not the same. I actually attribute a lot of Jim Lee losing his luster to working at DC. I have like very little interest in the DC characters, So I could take or leave his Batman, his Superman, all that stuff. Is It's just not for me. I would love to see him working on the X Men again, or any Marvel character really. And I haven't bought a Marvel book in probably 15, 20 years that I can think of at least. Um, okay, let's see what else I've got here. Okay, Nick Cave. I'm a big fan of Nick Cave. I think he's a brilliant writer. He's written several movies. Uh, what did he write? Lawless was one of his. That was uh, one of his films. What else was one of his films? I remember one with The Proposition. That was really good. That was with Guy Pearce. I thought that was a really good movie. Uh, his last album hasn't really grabbed me. It's got a couple of bangers, but I'm not really into that album as much. Even the album before, where it was just him and Warren Ellis. Like I think "Hand of God" is a great song, especially live. If you've never seen it live, look it up on YouTube. Just skip this video if you want to. I don't care, or just wait till it's over. Look up "Hand of God" live and just watch the craziest thing you've ever seen. Like there's a 16-minute version of the song online, which is just like rock your socks. Um, Let me think of other albums. My very first Nick Cave album was "No More Shall We Part," and it's a very soft album, but I think it just goes a long way. It's a really beautiful, and the lyrics really stick with me. One of the lines was, "I thought about friends who had died of exposure, and I remembered other ones who died from the lack of it." I just that's always stuck with me, and I kind of think about that while I'm usually thinking about writing my stories. Speaking of music writers, I'm also big into Lou Reed. Now this book is Pass Through Fire. Now Pass Through Fire is a collection of all of his lyrics, but the twist is, let me see. Okay, here's one. You see how there's the black there? There's more black bars on the next page. Then there's strange indentations on here. There's crossing over of the lyrics, ups and downs, and left and rights. All right. Then this is intentionally blurry. I don't know if you can see that. I can hold it up close. But it's a really fun book to just look at the lyrics. I think the section for Metal Machine music is just the liner notes for the album because as if you're a Lou Reed fan, you know Metal Machine music. It's an instrumental. It's just really just noise. And the first page is just the liner notes. Then the second page is also the liner notes, but there's supposed to be a black line through it. And then the third page, an even thicker black line until there's nothing but black lines all the way through it. I thought that was pretty funny. And then last, we have a Taschen book of Stanley Kubrick. Now this is the miniature version because I'm a cheap bastard. But I highly recommend all of his movies. I have not actually seen Barry Lyndon or Lolita, but that's pretty much it. I'm a huge fan of Eyes Wide Shut, and I really think that the narration was actually left off the movie. If you've heard those theories, I think it's really twisted and it really dives into some crazy Epstein stuff at this point. And it's really good and really smart. And if you look at what's going on, you can see what I'm talking about. I like that one, and I like The Shining. I love. I was like 3 years old when it came out, but I've watched it like 100 times. I watch all the fan theories online. Check those out if you're interested in that kind of thing. But that's pretty much all I've got for today. This is a nice short one. But thanks for listening to me and finding out a little bit more about what I'm into. And we'll see you next time. Peace.